Okay, I'm Liza Bruner, and today I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit of the interesting facts about the ancient Egyptians. So to start off, I want you guys to imagine that you're sitting at a family dinner, and your mom tells you, hey, it's time for you to marry your sister or your cousin. It sounds kind of crazy, but that's what it was like for the ancient Egyptian royal family. They married their sisters and their cousins to keep their bloodline pure, which isn't super uncommon for many royal families at the time. Ancient Egypt has some of the most interesting history, architecture, and people from the time that they lived in, and a lot of it today still remains a mystery to us, but we still continue to research and discover new things about them every day. So first, I want to start off with King Tut. He's probably the one that you guys are most familiar with when you think about ancient Egyptian pharaohs, which is another term for kings. That's what they were called back then. So, many of his interesting facts come after his death. He became the ruler at only 9 years old, after his father passed away. And he ruled for 10 years, which means he died at 19. So he would have died at my age, which is a little bit scary. So the sarcophagus that was made for him was actually made for his mom, but he died first and kind of suddenly, so they made it for him, and that is right here. That is the mask of his sarcophagus. There was suspicion of foul play involved in his death for a long time. We weren't exactly sure how and why he died, and we didn't know for many, many years. But with modern day technology, we were able to discover that his death was most likely due to malaria or some other kind of infection. His tomb was small and underwhelming for a king. However, it contained thousands and thousands of ancient Egyptian artifacts that we still study to this day. And those are some of the artifacts that were found in his tomb. Fun fact, Cleopatra, which is another well-known ruler of Egypt, wasn't actually Egyptian. She was Macedonian Greek. So, life in ancient Egypt relied heavily on the Nile River, which is shown to you right here. It was responsible for the transportation and for farming. Their livelihood depended on the floods that came from their crops. Most Egyptians were descended from settlers who moved from the Nile Valley in prehistoric times. The population increased with natural fertility and all of that. Most of the people in Egypt were farmers. They did a class system similar kind of to what we do now, but put it in prehistoric times. That's what it looked like. And they all mostly settled along the Nile River because that was only where the fertile land was. Crops couldn't survive many other places in Egypt. And due to the floods of the Nile, many of the dwellings that were there washed away with the flood, so the settlement patterns were hard for us to recognize at the time, but we now were able to see that most of the settlements were along the Nile. That's some of the farming, that's what it looks like along the Nile. Another fun fact, ancient Egyptian lifespan was very, very short. For males, it was 22 to 25 years old. For females, it was 37 or 35 to 37. So you didn't have much time to live, and I'm kind of assuming that a lot of it is due to the incest patterns that kind of ran along there, because we know now that that can create some mutations in the genetics. So when you guys think of ancient Egypt, what do you guys think about? What's the first thing that comes to mind to you guys?
Pyramids.
The pyramids, the Sphinx of Giza, and the Valley of the Kings are some of the most well-known structures of architecture in Egypt. It leaves many to question how they were able to build such structures to the magnitude that they were, because they are enormous and they still stand to this day, but they had very limited technology. They actually had no technology or equipment to build these things. So this is one of the pyramids that was built by King Snefru in the 4th dynasty. This is the Pyramid of Giza. It was built under the rule of the Pharaoh Khufu, and it's one of the last intact 7 wonders of the world. The pyramids were made from limestone, which was supposedly to make it easier for the pharaohs to join their souls with the gods. And this is the Sphinx. The Valley of the Kings is another one of the well-known spots. They carved tombs into the side of mountains, and that's where final resting places for pharaohs were. And they stopped using pyramids because of the tomb raiders. And so I hope I taught you guys today some things about ancient Egypt and their history and their architecture. They have influenced a lot of us in present day, and I was really excited to get to learn more about this. I loved learning about them as a kid. I spent hours watching the History Channel and researching them, watching YouTube videos, and I'm in a class with Professor Ainsworth right now where we just learned about ancient Egypt. So, thank you guys for listening to me today, and I hope I taught you something.